Hi, I'm Hina. Today I'm going to give you a video presentation on topic Project Loon. As I have mentioned earlier, my seminar topic is Project Loon. So what exactly I meant by Project Loon? Project Loon is a research and development project being developed by Google X with the mission of providing internet access to rural and remote areas. The project uses high altitude balloons placed in the stratosphere at an altitude of about 18 kilometers to create an aerial wireless network with up to 4G LTE speed. It was named Project Loon since Google itself found the very idea of providing internet access to remaining 5 billion population unprecedented and crazy. The balloons are maneuvered by adjusting their altitude in the stratosphere to float to a wind layer after identifying the wind layer with the desired speed and direction using wind data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that is NOAA. Users of the service connect to the balloon network using a special internet antenna attached to their building. The signal travels through the balloon network from the balloon to balloon, then to ground-based station connected to an internet service provider, then on to the global internet. The system aims to bring internet access to remote and rural areas poorly served by existing provisions and to improve communication during the natural disasters to affected regions. Key people involved in the project include Rich Dewal, Chief Technical Architect who's also an expert on wearable technology, Mike Cassidy, a project leader, and Cyrus Behrouzi, a networking and telecommunication lead. Loon shall use patch antennas, which are directional antennas, to transmit signal to ground station or LTE users. Some smartphones with Google SIM cards can use Google Internet Services. The whole infrastructure is based on LTE, in which E node B is carried in the balloon, which will travel across the globe and connect to users and EPC network. So now let's discuss a history about this project. In 2008, Google considered contracting with an Acquiring Space Data Corp, a company that sends balloons carrying small base station about 20 miles, that is 32 kilometers up in the air, for providing connectivity to truckers and oil companies in the southern United States, but didn't do so. Unofficial development on the project began in 2011 under incubation in Google X with a serial of series runs in California's Central Valley. The project was officially announced as a Google project on 14 June 2013. Similarly, on 16 June 2013, Google began a pilot experiment in New Zealand where about 30 balloons were launched in coordination with Civil Aviation Authority from the Tekapo area in the South Island. About 50 local users and around Christchurch and the Canterbury region tested connection to the aerial network using special antennas. After this initial trial, Google plans on sending up 300 balloons around the world at the 40th parallel south that would provide coverage to New Zealand, Australia, Chile, and Argentina. Google hopes to eventually have thousands of balloons flying in stratosphere. In May 2014, Google X Laboratories director Astor Teller announced that rather than negotiate a section of bandwidth that was free for them worldwide, they would instead become a temporary base station that could be leased by the mobile operators of the country it was crossing over. In June 2014, Google tested its balloons powered internet access venture in Piauí, Brazil, marketing its first LTE experiments and launched near the equator. In 2014, Google partnered with France International Dutia Specials on the project. In Feb 2014, the record streak for balloon lasting in stratosphere was 50 days. In November 2014, the record was 130 days, and in March 2015, the record for a continuous balloon flight is 187 days over 6 months. On 28 July 2015, Google signed an agreement with the Official of Information and Communication Technology Agency, that is ICTA Sri Lanka, to launch the technology on a mass scale. As a result, by March 2016, Sri Lanka will be the second country in the world to get coverage of internet using LTE after Vatican City. On 2019, in 2015, on 29th October, Google agreed to partner with Indonesia's XL Exite Indosat Antariscomi to bring the technology to the country in the hopes of connecting its 17,000 islands. So now let's just start with balloon powered internet for everyone that is present in our presentation. So what is a Project Loon? Project Loon is a network of balloons traveling on the edge of space designed to connect people in rural and remote areas. What exactly do we mean by that? Yes, so many of us think of the internet as a global community, but two-thirds of the world's population does not yet have internet access. Project Loon is a network of balloons traveling on the edges of space designed to connect people in rural and remote areas, help fill coverage gaps, and bring people back online after the natural disasters. So this is how our balloon looks like. When a Project Loon has been made, it looks like this. So what was the pilot test? Project Loon has done one pilot test over here, which I'm going to explain you now. Project Loon, which has begun in 2013, as we have discussed earlier, with an experimental pilot in New Zealand where a small group of Project Loon pioneers tested Loon technology. The results of the pilot test, as well as subsequent tests in New Zealand, California, Central Valley, and in northeast Brazil, are being used to improve the technology in preparation for the next stages of the project. So it has begun in 2019 when 30 balloons were launched from New Zealand's South Island and beamed internet to a small group of pilot testers. The pilot test has since expanded to include a greater number of people over a wider area. Looking ahead, Project Loon will continue to expand the pilot with the goal of establishing a ring of uninterrupted connectivity at the latitudes in the southern hemisphere so that pilot testers in these latitudes can receive continuous service via balloon powered internet. So this journey will be a huge thanks to our pilot tester for taking the first step with us. This was the reason where the Project Loon has been first taken place. So this is what I have shown in a map. Let's go further. The technology. What exactly the technology we have used in Project Loon? So the technology is like this. Project Loon is Google pursued to deploy a high-altitude balloon network operating in the stratosphere at altitudes between 18 kilometers and 25 kilometers. Google asserts that this particular layer of stratosphere is advantageous because of its relatively low wind speed. Example, wind speed between 50 and 20 mph or from 10 to 30 km/h and minimal turbulence. Moreover, Google claims that it can model with reasonable accuracy the seasonal, longitudinal, and latitudinal variation in wind speeds within 18 to 25 km stratospheric layer. Given a reasonably accurate model of wind speeds within the 18 to 25 km band, Google claims that it can control the latitudinal and longitudinal position of high altitude balloons by adjusting only the balloon's altitude. By adjusting the volume and density of the gas, example helium, hydrogen, or any other lighter than air compound in the balloon, the balloon's variable buoyancy system is able to control the balloon's altitude. Google has additionally indicated that balloon may be constructed from various materials, example metallized mylar or bobet, or a highly flexible latex or a rubber material, for example chloroprene. So initially, the balloons communicated using unlicensed 2.4 and 5.8 gigahertz ISM bands, and Google claims that the setup allows it to deliver speed comparable to 3G to users, but they can switch to LTE with cellular spectrum by cooperating with local telecommunication operators. It is unclear how technologies that rely on short communication times, that is a low latency ping such as VoIP, might need to be modified to work in an environment similar to mobile phone, where the signal may have to relay through multiple balloons before reaching the wider internet. Sorry. The first person to connect to the Google balloon internet after the initial test balloons were launched into the stratosphere was a farmer in the town of Leeston, New Zealand, who was one of 50 people in area around Christie Grange, who agreed to be a pilot tester for Project Loon. The New Zealand farmer lived in a rural location that couldn't get broadband access to the internet and had used its satellite internet service in 2009, but found that he sometimes had to pay over $1,000 per month for the service. The local knew nothing about the secret project other than its ability to deliver internet connectivity, but allowed project workers to attach a basketball-sized receiver resembling a giant bright red party balloon to an outside wall of their property in order to connect to the network. The technology designed in the project could allow countries to avoid using expensive fiber cable that would have to be installed underground to allow users to connect to the internet. Google feels like this will be greatly increase internet usage in developing countries in regions such as Africa, Southeast Asia that can afford to lay underground fiber cable. Yes. So this is what we have it in technology. As I have shown it in this figure, here what is happening is Project Loon balloons floating in the stratosphere, twice as high as airplanes and the weather. In the stratosphere there are many layers of wind, and each layer of wind varies in direction and speed. Loon balloons go where they are needed by rising or descending into a layer of wind blowing in the desired direction of travel. By partnering with telecommunication companies to share cellular spectrum, we have enabled people to connect to the balloon network directly from their phones and other LTE-enabled devices. The signal is then passed across the balloon network and back down to the global internet on Earth. So now I would like to tell you how these loons fly. The Project Loon balloons travel approximately 20 km above the Earth's surface in the stratosphere. Winds in stratosphere are stratified, and each layer of wind varies in speed and direction. Project Loon uses software algorithms to determine where its balloons need to go, then move each one into a layer of wind blowing in the right direction. By moving with the wind, the balloons can be arranged to form one large communication network. So this is how our balloons fly. Similarly, in our next slide, we have given as in stratosphere, which is situated between 10 kilometers and 60 kilometer altitude on the edge of space, as I have discussed earlier. Air pressure is 1% of that at sea level at stratosphere. Thinner atmosphere offers less protection from the UV radiation and temperature caused by the sun rays. Yes. So, yes, this is what I have told you earlier, how the loons move. Wind in the stratosphere are generally steady and slow moving at between 50 and 20 amperes, and each layer of wind varies in direction. Project Loon uses a software algorithms to determine where its balloons need to go, then moves each one into the layer of wind blowing in the right direction. By moving with the wind, the balloons can be arranged to form one large communication network, as I have discussed this earlier in technologies. So this is how your balloons fly, as it has shown in stratosphere atmosphere between 10 kilometers and 20 kilometers. How is it flowing? So now here's the most important part is coming for Project Loon, that how Loon is designed. Yes, so here we go. In like how your loon is designed, we have got three things get divided here. Three important parts we have. One is envelope, another one is solar panels, and the other one is electronics. What is your equipments are? That is what your electronics means. So for the components, we have envelope, solar panels, and equipment as it's shown in the figure. Now let's go through what exactly we meant by envelopes. Yes, envelope is nothing but an inflatable part of the balloon. It is an inflammable part of the balloon which is called a balloon envelope. A well-made balloon envelope is critical for allowing a balloon to last around 100 days in the stratosphere. Loon's balloon envelopes are made from sheets of polythene plastic and they measure 15 meters wide by 12 meters tall when fully inflated. Yes, so when a balloon is ready to be taken out of service, gas is released from the envelope to bring the balloon down to earth in a controlled descent. In the unlikely event that a balloon drops too quickly, a parachute attached to the top of the envelope is deployed. Okay, now how your all balloons get a connectivity in between each other. Each balloon can provide connectivity to a ground area about 80 kilometers in diameter using a wireless communication technology called LTE. To use LTE, Project Loon partners with telecommunication companies to share cellular spectrum so that the people will be able to access the internet everywhere directly from their phones and other LTE-enabled devices. Balloon relay wireless traffic from cell phones and other devices back to the global network using a high-speed links. So this is how our balloon envelopes is what. So I have written over here that Project Loon's balloons envelopes are made from sheets of polythene plastics and stand 15 meters wide by 12 meters tall when fully inflated. A parachute is attached to the top of the envelope, allows for a controlled descent and landing whenever the balloon is ready to be taken out of service. Now, what exactly do we mean by solar panels? In solar panels, what we have is each unit's electronics are powered by an array of solar panels that sits between the envelope and the hardware. That is what your equipment is. In full sun, these panels produce 100 watts of power, enough to keep the unit running while also charging a battery for use at night. By moving with the wind and charging in the sun, Project Loon is able to power itself using only renewable energy sources. That is the most important thing we have in Project Loon, is that we're using here is renewable energy sources, which are solar panels, which are easily available on Earth, and we can take this project way ahead because we're using something which is very reasonable for us. So this is how our solar panels work over here. So with this, let's go ahead. Okay. So after solar panels, we have equipments. Equipments is nothing but a small box containing the balloon's electronic equipment. This box contains circuit boards that control the system, radio antennas to communicate with other balloons and with internet antennas on the ground, and the batteries to store power to the balloon can operate during the nights. So yes, our equipment, the balloon envelopes used in the project are made by Raven Aerostar and are composed of polythene plastic about 0.076 mm in thickness. The balloons are super pressure balloons filled with helium standing 15 meter across and 20 meter tall when fully inflated, as I've told earlier. They carry a custom air pump system dubbed the Crows. The pumps in or releases air to blast the balloon and control its elevation. The small box weighing 10 kg containing each balloon's electronic equipment hangs underneath the inflated envelopes. That's what I was talking here about the equipments. This box contains circuit boards that control the system, radio antennas, and ubiquity networks, rocket M2, to communicate with other balloons which are flowing in the stratosphere along with that particular balloon, and with internet antennas on the ground which are connected to people, and batteries to store power, solar power, so the balloons can operate during the night also, because they are storing the power in their solar panels and they can operate during the nights. Each balloon electronics are provided by an array of solar panel that sits between the envelope and the hardware. In full sun, the panel produces 100 watts of power, which is sufficient to keep the unit running while also charging a battery for use at night. A parachute attached to the top of the envelope allows for a controlled descent and landing when the balloon is ready to be taken out of service. In the case of an unexpected failure, the parachute deploys automatically. When taken out of service, the balloon is guided to an easily reached location and the helium is vented into the atmosphere. The balloons typically have a maximum life of 100 days, although the Google claims that its tweaked design can enable them to stay aloft for closer to 200 days, which has been made till 187 days, which has been created or last. The prototype ground station uses a Ubiquiti Network Rocket M5 radio and a custom patch antenna to connect to the balloons at a height of 20 kilometers. Some reports have called Google project the Google Balloon Internet. Yes, so here we'll end up with the equipment process. Now, how your loons get connected. Each balloon can provide a connectivity to a ground area about 40 kilometers in diameter at speed comparable to 3G. Each balloon is equipped with a GPS for tracking its location. That is how a balloon is made up of. That is what I have shown in this figure, that how your loons get connected. I have discussed it earlier also. So let's get on to the new slide. How Loon connects to each other. There are 3 radio transceivers: balloon to balloon communication, balloon to ground communication, and third for the backup. The balloon use antennas equipped with the specialized radio frequency technologies, which is connected to the ground communication, which is there at the Earth's surface. Project Loon currently uses ISM bands that are unable for anyone to use. So therefore we have 3 radio transceivers. One is balloon to balloon communication, where it connects balloon to balloon communication, where it connects one balloon to the other, and the balloon to ground communication, which connect balloon to the ground areas with the antennas. So here how we have it, the connection. So now what exactly do we mean by ISM bands? The industrial, scientific and the medical ISM radio bands. What we meant over here. Radio bands reserved internationally for the use of radio frequency energy for industrial, scientific and medical purpose other than the communication. So here we are using ISM bands. More precisely, I can say that we are using it with Loons, Project Loon partners with the telecommunication companies. So here we are using ISM. So now let's discuss about the ups and downs we have faced in this Project Loon, mainly the disadvantages and the advantages related to the Project Loon. So let's discuss some of the benefits for Google. Initially, when the project was announced, it appeared as if the Google is spending millions of dollars on the project, providing internet to billions of people without any form of payment in return. So how will Google make any profit from this project? Considering that Google is an advertisement company, increasing the volume of internet users would invariably increase traffic on the world's leading search engine, Google Search. This accrual in search users implies that more ads will be displayed, swelling Google pockets even deeper. Also, considering that today's internet marketing model require purchases to manually install a router in their houses, Loon will already have a distinct dominance. Adopting Loon as your internet connection would require no external hardware, decreasing barriers that users would have to deal with when deciding whether or not to get an internet connection. Google's competitors that allow provide similar services like Time Warner Cable would automatically have a reduced market share. Also, space system would also be a disadvantage since their satellites cost more to maintain by multiple levels of magnitude than the Loon's balloons do. So it's very easy to use, it has a speed, and it increases the internet usage, which will be helpful for people. And the most important, our tagline is that it will help to come online even after some of the natural disasters. So that's an advantage over here. Now, what will be the disadvantage? Obviously, the cost, the maintenance, and balloons can work for few weeks only. I mean, it's not a permanent thing. They get into the atmosphere of they get into the stratosphere only for maximum of 200 days, and we've experienced only for 187 days till now. Project Loon is clearly an asset to Google. However, it is also a convenience to the rest of the world. For example, one of the most obvious avails of the project is availability of information, assuming all mechanisms of the projects are functioning as planned. Every single person who has access to some devices that has Wi-Fi access would be able to search for almost any form of media online. Farmers in the remote corners of the third world countries will be able to research and analyze multiple techniques that could increase their yield. A father would be able to stay in touch with his daughter, no matter which township either one of them lived in. Villages across the country would be able to transparently examine the country's political scenario and vote appropriately. The second benefit, I will discuss about the advantage more over here because it's a wonderful project. The second benefit in natural education, with millions of uneducated children all across the world, this program might be able to successfully provide schooling through online classes on topics ranging anywhere from natural disaster management to literary analysis. Even without any additional content, these new users would at the very least have access to existing online resources including W3 School, Code Academy, and many others. Health and medicine is another area that will be affected by Loon. With globally available data on disease outbreaks and medical breakthrough, the entire population will be able to adjust to epidemics or adopt new drugs or medications. Loon's use of renewable energy will greatly influence and inspire future projects as well, creating an interplay between solar energy to keep the balloon function while using wind energy to define its motor control will help reduce the burden on coal, petroleum, and other non-renewable energy sources. This is a very important advantage we have got from the Loons, is that a use of renewable energy. Finally, a collaboration between people across the globe will become much easier with the constant connectivity to each other through the internet, allowing newer, more complicated projects to arise. For example, NGOs in Africa could clearly demonstrate to their investors from Canada precisely how they are implementing their communal growth. So we have more advantages over here for this project. And if I discuss about the disadvantages, concerns, the main problem with launching any hardware project is certainty of eventually hardware failure. In most cases, the hardware is usually accessible and can be fixed. However, for airplanes, rockets, satellites, and now Loon's balloons, hardware failure is a huge problem as they cannot be reached. If a Loon balloon fails, it can be either remain up in the air floating, making it difficult to bring down, or to might go down in unwanted areas. So both of these scenarios are a huge concern to stability as well as the safety of people whose lives might be affected by unwanted balloon landings. Another concern over this project is internet privacy, since it gives Google more power over a wide range of consumer behavior. This information can become a security issue if it is shared with government agencies like NSA. So that's all in my seminar topic. A huge thanks to our pilot testers for taking the first step with us. Watch us, Charles. A Project Loon pilot tester connects to balloon powered internet for the first time. Thank you.